Hi everyone, this is Daryl and welcome back to Hypeword. I hope you all are doing well. So, The Man in the High Castle. You know the book. It's a novel by Philip K. Dick set in an alternate universe where the Nazis won the Second World War. But did you know that Dick might have wrote a sequel? I won't go into the summary of the book here as I've done that in loads of videos in the past, and I kind of assume that you'll know what the book's about as you've clicked on this video. But if for some reason you don't, I will leave a link to the summary here. So, The Man in the High Castle. The ending is known as being pretty ambiguous, but briefly to recap, the end sees Juliana discovering that the book, The Grasshopper Lies Heavy, depicts a world that is real, a world where the Allies won the war. Juliana tells author Hawthorne Abinson that he has channeled the true reality through his writing, a reality where Germany and Japan lost the war. The ending is not a conventional conclusion of the story and is definitely one of those endings that gets people talking, theorising about WTF it could mean. But that's okay because PKD totally knew what he was doing, right? 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 In a 1976 interview, PKD was very much open about his method for writing the book, admitting that he used the ancient Chinese oracle I Ching, much in the way his character Tagomi does in the novel, something he apparently regretted doing, because when it came down to resolving the story at the end, PKD said, the I Ching didn't know what to do. In the interview, he said, it got me through most of the book. Every time they cast a hexagram, I actually cast 4 of them and got something and assigned it to them, and they proceeded on the basis of the advice given. But then when it came time to close down the novel, the I Ching had no more to say, and so there's no real ending on it. PKD said he regarded it as an open ending and said it will segue into a sequel sometime. So the sequel itself obviously didn't happen, but why not? PKD obviously felt that there was more of the story to be said and may have needed closure around the ending. We know from PKD's daughter, Issa Dick Hackett, that there exists 2 chapters of an unpublished and unfinished sequel that PKD had begun writing before abandoning the project. These chapters, according to Hackett, are actually audio tape recordings. Hackett says the project was abandoned because revisiting the research on Nazis and the extermination camps was personally upsetting and difficult for her father. PKD's research for The Man in the High Castle took him 7 years to accumulate, according to the 1976 interview, before he even sat down to write. PKD said because of this thorough and in-depth research, he considered his novel to be better than most of the others he'd written up until that point. That's part of the reason why it's a better novel than most of my novels, he said. I knew what I was talking about. There wasn't anything I didn't know. He used prime source material from the Berkeley University of California library that had been seized directly from the Gestapo after World War II. What PKD read in these Gestapo diaries evidently had a profound effect on him, because he then went on to say this is why he'd never written a sequel. It's too horrible, he said. It's too awful. I started several times to write a sequel to it, and I would have to go back and read about Nazis again. And I'd just like to off every one of them. It's what I'd like to do. And so I could never do a sequel to it. He said the only way he could write a sequel was if he collaborated with someone who could take on the research side, so that he wouldn't have to. Someone with stomach and stamina to think along those lines. He also revealed this was why The Man in the High Castle is set in the Japanese-occupied part of the US. Because then I could deal with the people, he said. While the research might have been difficult for him, PKD said the writing itself was actually a catharsis. I thought I hated those guys before I did the research, he said. After I did the research, then I created for myself an enemy I would hate for the rest of my life. Fascism. Wherever it appears, whether it's in Germany, the United States, Soviet Union or anywhere. Fascism. Wherever it appears, it is the enemy. Rumours around the potential for a Man in the High Castle sequel have been doing the round for years. Concepts for the proposed sequel were published in The Shifting Realities of Philip K. Dick, a collection of essays and writing. PKD's novel, Radio Free Albemuth, is rumoured to have started as a sequel to The Man in the High Castle. PKD described the plot of this early version of Radio Free Albemuth, then titled Valis System A, writing a divine and loving extraterrestrial intelligence helps Hawthorne Abinson, the protagonist author of The Man in the High Castle, continue on his difficult life after the Nazi secret police finally got to him. Valis System A, located in deep space, sees to it that nothing, absolutely nothing, can prevent Abinson from finishing his novel. The novel eventually became a new story, completely unrelated to The Man in the High Castle. PKD ultimately abandoned the Albemarle book, unpublished during his lifetime, though portions were salvaged and used for 1981's Valis. Radio 3 Albemarle was published in 1985, 3 years after his death. Interestingly, PKD was also rumoured to have admitted that the proposed sequel became another completely unrelated novel, The Ganymede Takeover, co-written with Ray Nelson. None of these could be considered sequels, however, in the truest sense. Ironically, the closest thing we may have gotten to a Man in the High Castle sequel is the Amazon adaptation. I'll go into the many ways that the TV show and the book are different in one of my videos, which I'll leave a link to here, and I've always insisted that for me, the book and the TV show have always felt like completely separate entities. But saying that, according to PKD's daughter, Hackett, who is an executive producer on the show, the audio tape chapters of the Man in the High Castle sequel actually held a concept that was integral to the show, the concept of a portal between universes. If you're interested in reading more on this, I'll leave a couple of links in the description to some really interesting source material. So that's it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. Please hit the like button if you enjoyed the content, and subscribe if you want to see more videos from me. We talk about all things books here, sci-fi, fantasy, and sometimes horror, so stick around if that is your thing. Until next time guys, happy reading.